Hello everyone. Before we begin, I have two important questions. One, are you supposed to be or enrolled in any class at this time? If you are, you cannot receive credit for this ESL wall orientation. Even if your teacher let you out early, you cannot receive credit for your class and for being in the lab at the same time. You should attend this orientation when you don't have any class at this time. Secondly, did you make sure to scan in and choose your class, ESL 76, 78, 83, 184, 185, or 190 at the front desk? If not, please pause this video and return to the scan-in station to scan in to your class to receive credit. Now that we have that out of the way, welcome to the Skills Center. The Skills Center is the home of the ESL Wall Lab, which is a required part of your ESL class. The ESL Wall Lab is open during specific times, Monday through Friday. Please note that these hours are different than the hours from previous semesters. On Mondays and Tuesdays, the lab opens at 9:25 a.m. and closes at 2:20 p.m. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, our longer days, the lab opens at 9:25 a.m. and stays open until 7:55 p.m. On Fridays, our wall lab is open from 9 o'clock a.m. until 12:10 p.m. To comply with the California State wall requirements, students must spend a minimum of 50 minutes per week in the lab. You are welcome to stay longer than 50 minutes, but if you clock in for less than 50 minutes in a given week, it will be counted as an absence for the week. Even if you have 49 minutes, you will be given an absence since state law requires a minimum of 50 minutes per week in the lab. To ensure you get all your minutes, you should make sure to arrive at least 50 minutes before the end of the wall hour to meet your minutes requirement. California state law also says that students cannot have more than 3 absences in the lab during the semester. This means that if you have a 4th absence, you will be immediately dropped from your class. Another policy reminder is that you cannot attend the wall during any other class that you are enrolled in here at Fullerton College, Cypress College, or the North Orange County School of Continuing Education. Even if your instructor cancels a class or lets you out early, you cannot use the lab and receive credit if you have a class at the exact same time. Finally, minutes from one week do not roll over from week to week. In other words, even if you spend, let's say, 120 minutes one week in the lab, you cannot use this extra time for the following week. At the beginning of the week of each week during the semester, your lab time begins at 0 minutes. If you have any questions about these policies, feel free to ask your instructor or the lab instructor. Please also keep in mind that during weeks with holidays, students are still responsible for completing their 50 minutes of lab work. Please adjust your schedule accordingly to make sure that you finish all your 50 minutes even if there is a scheduled holiday. You should remember that scanning into the lab and when you're finished with your time is your responsibility. When scanning in, make sure to select your class, whether it's ESL 83 or ESL 190, or else you will not receive credit for your lab time. Also, when scanning out, if your time doesn't look accurate, make sure to ask a staff person for assistance. You should always check that you have 50 out of the 50 required minutes when you're done with the lab that week. Again, when scanning out of the lab, make sure to confirm that you have your 50 out of the 50 minutes that you need for the week. It is your responsibility to make sure that you fulfill the weekly minutes responsibility of your class. Before you begin your lab work for week 2, make sure to print out the wall assignment sheets. You can find these on the ESL website, esl.fullcall.edu. Click on Weekly Arranged Lab Hours and then look for the tab that has your class on it. You should also plan to buy a print account at the bookstore before week 2. This will allow you to print not only your assignment sheets, but any work you need to turn in from any computer lab on campus. Most students start with $3.50 in their print account. Each page printed costs 5 cents. Please note that this will not allow you to print from the library printers. To complete your wall orientation sheet, you should begin reading the directions and completing the tasks and activities. If you have any questions, you can ask the lab instructor on duty. When you are finished, ask the instructor to stamp your work before you leave. And don't forget to scan out of the lab and confirm your minutes. Good luck, and we hope you have a great semester in your class and in the lab.